The whistle screamed as the Lagos Ibadan Express thundered through the night, lights strobing over faces stiff with fear. Someone had yanked the carriage door open between coaches. Hot wind rushed in, tugging at headscarves and shirts. On the floor of Coach B, a stranger lay half-curled under the seats, his gray hoodie soaked dark at the shoulder. He was bleeding, badly. 3 men in crisp suits shoved through the aisle with the careful anger of people used to getting what they want. Move, one snapped, eyes like broken glass. Conductor business. Amara didn't move. Her knees were on the dirty floor, one hand pressing a folded scarf hard against the stranger's wound, the other bracing the metal seat to keep steady as the train swayed. She was small, a village girl with long lashes and a stubborn mouth, but her gaze didn't flinch. She had seen machetes in yam fields. She had seen floodwater take goats and houses in a single day. This was different, but she wouldn't let him die. The tallest man reached for the stranger's ankle. "Don't touch him," Amara said. Her voice came out clear like a bell before church. Passengers held their breath. A grandmother clutched her plastic bag of bread. A young man in a baseball cap slid his phone lower to record. Somewhere a baby whimpered, then went quiet, sensing the weather of adults. The stranger under the seat blinked up at Amara. For a heartbeat the noise and wind fell away. His eyes were a sharp, stormy gray, an uncommon color that made people look twice without knowing why. He looked no older than 30. Even with blood on his hoodie, he wore danger like perfume. "You don't know what you're doing," the tallest man hissed. "I know he's dying," Amara said. "And this is a public train. You can't drag him like meat." The man's smile didn't touch his eyes. "Sister, we can." Then the train lurched around a bend, and the 3 suited men swayed as one, trained, graceful. The tallest man showed his badge in a flash. Not police. Not railway. Some private thing with a gold crest and the name Cole faintly etched into the metal. The name brushed the carriage like a cold wind. Even if most passengers didn't recognize it, some did. A woman covered her mouth. A man looked at the floor. Cole meant money. Cole meant power. In Atlanta, in Lagos, in the shadows where business wore gloves. People whispered the family name when ports changed hands overnight or a nightclub burned with no bodies inside. The stranger tried to rise and failed. He grabbed the underside of the seat, breathed through pain, and then in a voice like gravel said, "Don't let them take me." Amara swallowed, feeling her heart run like a hunted thing. She looked down at her scarf. It was once white, now a deep, frightening red. "What's your name?" "Dante," he said. "Dante Cole." The second man lifted his jacket just enough to let everyone glimpse the metal at his hip. "Miss," he said almost kind, "help us lift him. We're taking him home." Dante laughed once, a cracked sound. "Home? That's one word." The carriage door at the far end slid open and a 4th figure stepped in, broad shoulders, conductor cap, and a calm face. Relief fluttered in the passengers. An official, finally. But Amara saw how the suited men eased, the way their spines softened at the sight of him. This conductor belonged to someone. "Ladies and gentlemen," the conductor said into the silence, "we had a minor disturbance. Please remain in your seats. We'll handle it." A baby started crying again, this time louder. Wind roared through the open intercoach door, and the smell of hot metal filled the air. The train clattered over a bridge, black water flashing under the belly of the night. Lagos drew nearer with every mile, its towers, its teeth. Amara raised her chin. "He needs a hospital," she said to the conductor. "Not, whatever this is." The conductor gave her a small, patient smile. "Young lady, emergencies are complicated. But I appreciate your courage." He nodded to the men. The tallest crouched, reaching for Dante's shoulders. On instinct, Amara slammed her palm on the emergency stop handle mounted by the door. A shrill alarm split the carriage, a sound that made bones shake. People jumped. The men froze. The conductor's smile died. Metal screamed. The world bucked hard. The train didn't stop. Fast trains never stop like that, but it shuddered, braking just enough to throw the men's timing and send luggage thumping from the racks. In the chaos, Dante moved. He jackknifed, jammed his foot against the seat frame, and rolled halfway clear with Amara's help. Pain made his face go white under dark skin. Blood dripped steady. He should not have been able to move, but he did because survival teaches its own strength. "Through there," he gasped, nodding at the open door between coaches. "We have to go." The conductor lunged, faster than his age promised. His hand clamped Amara's wrist, steel fingers too strong. Then a passenger stood up, a woman with braided hair and a Lagos work pass on a lanyard. "Leave the girl," she shouted, voice ringing like a bell. Something old and proud woke in the carriage, the way it does when a village stands together against a storm. The grandmother with the bread swung her bag like a weapon. The young man with the phone stepped in front of the closest suit, shaking but brave. A boy pressed the emergency button again and again, his thumbs small and furious. It was enough. It was messy. It was beautiful. Amara wrenched free. She and Dante staggered through the open door into the wind tunnel between coaches. The metal plates under their feet rattled like teeth. On either side, the night snatched at them with cold fingers. Dante tumbled against the coupling, gripping a rail with white knuckles. Amara braced herself, shoving her shoulder under his good arm. Behind them, the suits shoved back the few passengers, force turning to fury. The conductor yanked a hidden radio from his pocket and barked into it. The train began to slow for a scheduled stop, a small station where the platform lights made a pale ladder in the dark. You shouldn't have done that, Dante panted, each word a hot coal. They don't forgive. I won't forgive myself if you bleed out on the floor, Amara said simply. He looked at her with those stormy eyes, and something like wonder crossed his face as if, for once, a script he'd lived by all his life suddenly had a new line he couldn't predict. They stumbled into Coach C. Different faces. Same fear. Before anyone could react, the first of the suited men burst in from the far door, eyes scanning, searching, locking. He lifted his hand. Amara dragged Dante down the narrow space between seats, toward the back where luggage stacks rose like small walls. The world narrowed to breath and blood and the clock-fast slam of tracks under wheels. Somewhere, a station announcer voiced a name through speakers swallowed by the wind. "Why are they after you?" she asked as they ducked behind a luggage cart piled high with boxes labeled Farm Fresh and Made in Nigeria. Dante's laugh was small and awful. "Because I said no." "To what?" "To becoming king." The words dropped between them like a handful of nails. Amara blinked. "King of what?" "Of the Coles," he said. "Of the thing my father built in the dark while smiling in the light. Of ships that carry more than tomatoes. Of clubs that stay open even when the power is out. Of debts people don't know how to count." He coughed, blood on his lip now. "I was supposed to sign tonight. I didn't. And they shot you for it?" "They missed." His mouth tilted. "Mostly." Footsteps. Close. The men moved with patient certainty, fanning out, checking row by row. The conductor's voice floated closer, smooth as oil. "No more games," he called. "Mr. Cole, your father is a forgiving man. He'll understand." "Liar," Dante whispered. A child across the aisle stared, thumb in mouth, eyes wide and shining. Amara scanned the carriage. Emergency window hammers glinted red behind thin glass. Above, a route map showed a thin line with little white dots. One dot glowed, the next stop, Otetala. A small station quiet at night. A chance to vanish or to be trapped, depending on who reached the platform first. Dante swayed. Amara tightened her grip. "Stay with me." "I'm trying," he said, sounding almost amused, and that frightened her more than anger would have. The suits closed in, their triangle neat and sure. The tallest spoke, soft enough to be gentle, hard enough to be destiny. "Miss, step aside." Amara didn't. Her father had taught her that some choices put a stone in your chest forever if you walk away. Her mother had taught her to keep her palms open for strangers because God hides inside people. Both truths lived in her bones now. The train screamed as it began to break into Otetala. The platform lights rushed up, bright as an idea. Shadows of men waited there, more suits, more calm, more control. On the far side of the tracks, hawkers clustered behind a safety line with coolers and hope, their eyes extra awake because night sells things day cannot. Amara lifted the emergency hammer, smashed the small safety glass, and ripped the red metal free. The men flinched, not from the hammer but from the shock of a girl breaking the rules. She slammed the hammer into the emergency window. The first hit cracked it. The second blossomed it into a spiderweb. Wind pressed in eager and cold. "Don't," the conductor warned. "You'll hurt people." "You already are," Amara said. Before she could swing again, something cold and precise pressed into the small of her back. A voice she knew from market days, laughing easy, someone who bought pepper from her mother and called her Gold Girl, for the way the sun liked her face, spoke close to her ear. "Amara," he said, almost a sigh, "drop the hammer. You shouldn't be here." She turned her head just enough to see him. Jide, handsome, well-dressed, the son of the village chief who had moved to Lagos and found fast money. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. In his hand, a gun gleamed like a new coin. "What are you doing on this train?" she asked, throat tight. Working, he said. Protecting the future. Whose future? He nodded toward Dante. Ours? The platform slid alongside. The doors chimed. The suits lifted their hands in a signal only they understood. The carriage breathed in and held that breath, waiting to see whether the night would swallow a girl and a bleeding man, or whether the day would. The gun pressed harder into Amara's back. Drop the hammer, Jide repeated. Or someone you love will pay first. The emergency window gave another soft groan ready to break. Dante's eyes met Amara's, storm gray, steady even now. He shook his head once, very small, as if to say, don't trade yourself. He whispered a single word shaped like a promise and a warning both. Run. The doors hissed open with a sigh. And the lights went out. Dark swallowed the train. People screamed, not the long movie scream but the short, sharp sound a person makes when their world disappears for a second. The wheels still thundered. The doors stood open like mouths without sound. In the first heartbeat of blackout, Amara swung. The hammer cracked the window. A triangle of glass fell outward and wind punched in. Jide's gun jerked as someone crashed into him in the dark. The grandma with the bread again, brave, stubborn, swinging like a village clock. The shot, if there was one, drowned under metal and shouting. Amara shoved Dante toward the window. He pushed back. You first, he said. Even bleeding, his voice carried command. She didn't argue. She crawled through the gap, felt glass scrape her jeans, felt the hot slap of platform air. The train's edge rushed beside her like a river that didn't care. She dropped, hit concrete on her palms, rolled the way her father once taught her to roll off a moving cart when a goat bolted. Pain flared in her shoulder. She looked up. Dante came through next. For a breath he hung half in, half out, his hoodie catching on a jagged edge. Amara grabbed his waistband and yanked. He spilled onto the platform, knees buckling. They ran. Otetala station was small, a thin slash of light in night country. Hawkers froze, then scattered as men in suits poured from the next carriage like ink. The conductor shouted orders that tried to sound like calm. Jide climbed out more slowly, eyes fixed on the dark shape of Amara and the man she held up. Left, Dante gasped. They cut behind a kiosk where a boy sold bottled water and biscuit at night prices. The boy watched with the clear eyes of someone who had seen 100 small crimes and knew the price of every one. He saw blood, saw the suits, made a decision, and kicked a crate in front of the alley to slow the men. He nodded once at Amara. She would remember his face for the rest of her life. They slid down the narrow passage where broken posters peeled from the walls and generators coughed. A rusted iron gate blocked the end. Amara rattled it, found it wired shut, looked around, spotted a loose hinge pin. She braced a foot on the gate, jammed the emergency hammer under the pin, and levered with everything in her body. The pin gave with a tiny cry. The gate shifted enough. They squeezed through. Somewhere back there a man's voice said, "Block the exits." Another voice said, "No police," and the words carried more danger than gunmetal. They came out under the shadow of a concrete flyover where Danfo buses slept between runs and mechanics turned spanners by feel. Diesel hung thick. Headlights sliced through like knives. A group of men sat on upside-down buckets playing cards with quiet, serious hands. A teenage girl in a yellow hoodie counted boiled groundnuts into paper cones, her fingers quick and sure. Amara sank Dante onto an old tire. His breath sawed. Sweat glazed his face, the gray of his eyes looked almost colorless now. She peeled back the scarf at his shoulder. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. It wasn't a clean hole. It had torn along muscle, the kind of wound that makes doctors curse. The girl in yellow came closer, groundnuts forgotten. "Auntie," she whispered, "I have alcohol. I have thread. I have needle. My mother is Taylor. Do you want?" Amara didn't ask where the needle had been. She didn't ask about clean. There was clean enough when a life slid on the edge. "Yes," she said. "Please." The girl sprinted to a small cooler and returned with a bottle that might once have held gin, now clear with something that bit the air. She produced a packet of needles and black thread. "My name is Kemi," she said, cheeks flushed from running. "Thank you, Kemi," Amara said and meant it. Dante's mouth tilted even as his jaw clenched. "You sure about this?" he asked, and in his voice lived the kind of laugh a man uses when the choices are all bad and he picks one anyway. "Hold still," Amara said. She poured alcohol over the wound. Dante's back arched. The card players looked up at the sound and then away again, like men who understood that some help must stay quiet. Amara threaded the needle with her shaking hands. Her father had shown her how to stitch torn goatskin when she was small. Her mother had placed a needle between her fingers before she could spell her own name. It wasn't the same as flesh, but it was something to hold on to, and right now something was a bridge across a river. She set the point to Dante's skin. "Tell me something," he said through teeth, voice thin but stubborn. "Something true. Make it loud enough so I can walk into it." Amara breathed. She spoke. "My village is 3 hours from here. We have one well that never dries, even in Harmattan. When I was 8, I fell in chasing a coin I dropped and my father pulled me out by the shirt. He said, 'Amara, water keeps secrets. Don't give it yours.' I wanted to live in a city where secrets have to stand in line. So I come to Lagos twice a week to help my mother sell pepper, and I take this train because it is cheaper when you pay cash at the window." Dante made a sound that might have been a laugh. "It's still expensive," he said. "Everything is," Amara said and set the first stitch. He pulled air in hard. She stitched again, small and neat and fast, the needle biting, the thread drawing skin together. Kemi poured more alcohol with soft apologies. A mechanic shuffled closer, held the beam of his phone like a lamp so Amara could see. No one asked names that could be used later. Amara spoke while she worked so Dante could anchor himself to her voice. "A boy from our village moved to Lagos 2 years ago," she said. "His name is Jide. He came back in a car that spit music. He gave our chief a brown envelope that made the chief smile and frown at the same time. He brought rice at Christmas and said I should send him a message if I ever needed anything. He bought pepper from us every other week when I came to mile 12. He asked questions the way people drink water, fast like they will always be thirsty." "Spotter?" Dante said, breath rough. "They like spotters from places where people don't read the fine print." Amara looked up at him. "Is that what you are? A fine print?" He looked back at her. For a second, the gray of his eyes went gentle. "I was born on the front page," he said. "My mother is a nurse from Atlanta. Her name is Jasmine. She met my father in Lagos when she flew back for a medical project. My father is Dante Cole. He smiles in pictures. He has never stood in a queue. He calls people partner and brother and son. He built docks and clubs and companies that feed on the places where law gets thin." "And you?" Amara asked. "I studied logistics," he said. "I sailed on ships with my name on them that carried honest cargo and also cargo that goes through doors in the night. I learned to read invoices written in smoke." He was proud of me. "I was supposed to sign something tonight in a room above the water. Not a paper, papers burn. It was a promise with sharp teeth. I said no. And they shot you," she said. "They tried to," he said softly. "It was not my father's hand that pulled the trigger." "Whose?" "My cousin Malik," he said, and there was no hate in it, only grief that had put on armor. "He believes the world belongs to men who take it. He never liked that my mother says grace." Amara set the last stitch and tied the thread with a knot a tailor would respect. Blood still leaked but slower now. She wrapped the scarf tight again and used Kemi's hoodie string to cinch it in place. Dante sagged against the tire, eyes closed, mouth set. After a moment he opened them. "You sew like a soldier," he said. "I sew like a girl who learned not to waste cloth," Amara said, wiping her hands on her jeans. Her palms shook now that there was a lull. She took a breath and told the sheikh it could come later. From the direction of the station, a siren rose, a thin, disinterested wail. Not police. Company vehicles that pretend they are. The card players stood as one and melted into the dark the way only people who practice can. The mechanic killed his light. Kemi pulled her hood up over her braids and stuffed the alcohol bottle under her table. Amara crouched. "We need to move," she said. Dante nodded. "Somewhere loud," he said. "Somewhere with 100 cameras and 1,000 people who don't look up." "Balagan?" Amara said. "Or a Jej market. Night market is alive on Friday." Dante's mouth lifted. "You'd be a good captain." A danfo rumbled awake, driver banging the side with his palm. "Ojalegba Yaba straight?" he called in a voice tired and hopeful at once. Amara and Kemi hauled Dante up between them. He was heavy with pain but he moved. They pushed him toward the danfo. The driver squinted at the blood. Drivers always do the math of trouble. Amara met his eyes and made her own math clear. "We will sit at the back," she said. "No noise." The driver shrugged, worry sliding off him like rain. "Back," he said. "No drip on my chairs." They climbed in. The danfo smelled of lives, soap and work and the sweet dust of groundnuts. People inside pretended not to notice the man leaning like a tired tree. Someone shifted a bag with kindness that wore a hard face. The bus jolted forward, swallowed by the big road. Streetlights cut the night into squares. Lagos rolled out, billboards that promised phones and heaven, Bars that pulsed low, men asleep on tires, women with trays like crowns, boys racing with nothing under their feet but speed. The city looked like it always looks when danger walks, unbothered, busy, shining where it could. Amara let her head bump the window and breathed. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Mama. Her thumb slid. Mama, Her mother's voice came small and flat in the speaker, the voice of someone holding her body very still so it does not betray her fear. Where are you? She asked. Tell me now. Mama, I'm on a bus. I'll come home. Do not come, Mama said so fast the words tripped. Men are in the house. They wear neat clothes and soft shoes. They drink my water and ask me about you. They know your name, Amara. They know what train you took. They know what color scarf you wore today. One of them is the boy who buys pepper. He is smiling. He says if you care for me you will bring a man to him. He says it is small work. Amara's fingers locked around the phone. Across the aisle, Dante watched her face and read the message there like text. Mama, Amara whispered, feeling the world tilt a little to one side, did they tell you his name? Her mother's breath scratched the line. He says he is family, she said. He says his name is Cole. The Danfo rolled through a green light that changed to red too fast, as Lagos lights often do. A bike shot in front like a dare. The driver swore, hauled the wheel, kept going. Dante leaned closer, his voice low. You can get off at the next stop and walk away, he said. I can ask the driver to hold the door. I will jump. You will live. Amara stared at him, anger and fear tensing the same space inside her chest. If I walk away now, she said, they will walk to my mother instead. She swallowed. And I think that even if I ran to the end of the water, someone would still know my name. Dante was quiet a moment. Yes, he said. That's how they build it. Names are roads. The bus rattled onto a wider avenue. The driver turned up the radio. A smooth-voiced host spoke about late football scores and a pop star's new album. Then his tone shifted, like a man reading a note slid under a door. Breaking, he said, light voice going tight. There was a disturbance on the Lagos-Ibadan Express tonight. Private security requests assistance locating a wounded man, approximately 30, and a young woman, early 20s. Witnesses say they exited at Otetala station. If you see anything, call. The number sang out like a hook you couldn't avoid. Heads lifted. Eyes slid toward the back. A boy in a school sweater whispered, Is it them? Too loud. The driver checked the mirror and found Amara's eyes there, steady. Amara's phone buzzed again. A new number. She answered because not answering wouldn't make the call stop. Jide's voice filled the space, warm as always, friendly as always, this time with a thread of steel anyone could hear. Gold girl, he said as if he stood at her mother's table, don't be foolish. Bring our brother home and all your debts become stories. Refuse and stories become debts. We're family, you and I. Don't make me teach you what that means. The Danfo slowed at a police checkpoint lit by blue lamps. Officers waved cars through with lazy hands. One of the officers looked up and, for a heartbeat too long, held Amara's gaze as if he already knew her name. And then the driver eased the bus to the side. Two men in suits stepped out of a black SUV and walked toward the Danfo doors, unhurried, certain, smiling like Sunday. The driver reached for the handle to let them in. The Danfo's brakes hissed. The air inside thickened as though fear had weight. People stared straight ahead, pretending not to breathe. Outside, the two men in black suits approached with the kind of calm only power can afford. Their polished shoes clicked against the tarmac, catching the flash of blue police lamps. Dante's jaw tightened. Amara felt his hand slide toward hers on the cracked leather seat. His palm was hot, too hot, but steady. Don't speak, he murmured. Not even if they say your name. The bus driver unlocked the door with a sigh. Evening, officers, he said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. One of the suited men leaned inside, flashing a smile so smooth it almost looked kind. He wasn't police, his badge bore no insignia Amara recognized. But his presence was heavier, like the air before a storm. Good evening, he said, scanning faces with bored authority. We're looking for a man, wounded, possibly armed. He's dangerous. His eyes drifted to Dante and stopped. And the young lady beside him fits a description we were given. The second man followed the first gaze. Stand up, please, he ordered. The passengers went rigid. A baby whimpered softly. Kemi, sitting across the aisle, clutched her paper cone of groundnuts tight, eyes darting from Amara to the men. Amara swallowed hard. She could feel Dante tense beside her, could sense the calculation behind his silence. He didn't move. Neither did she. The first man's smile grew thin. "Don't make this hard," he said. "It's better for everyone." Before anyone could answer, a voice cut through the tension. "Oga. Why you dey disturb my passengers?" A woman in her late 30s, wearing a yellow reflective vest and carrying a clipboard, marched up to the door. She had the quick, no-nonsense stride of a Lagos transport officer. Her ID badge swung at her chest as she frowned up at the men. "Who you be? Why you stop my bus? You see any uniform for your body?" The suited men exchanged a look, clearly thrown off by her boldness. "We're handling a security matter, madam," one said. "Security my foot," the woman shot back. "This is federal road, and you no get authority to stop public transport without police escort. Abi una don become police now." The nearby officer at the checkpoint turned lazily toward the scene. "Madam, what'n happen?" he called. The woman pointed at the suits. "Na dem. Stopping Danfo like say dem BEFCC." The men stiffened. They couldn't flash fake badges here, not with real police nearby. The first man exhaled, managing another forced smile. "Apologies, madam," he said smoothly. "Mistaken vehicle." He turned on his heel. The other followed, their retreat silent and practiced. The officer watched them go but didn't interfere, perhaps recognizing trouble too deep to touch. The woman turned back to the driver. "Move this bus, Jair, before they change their mind." The driver didn't wait to be told twice. The door slammed shut, engine growled, and the Danfo jerked forward onto the open road. A collective breath filled the bus. Someone whispered, "God save us." Amara turned to the woman in the vest. She was walking back to her inspection post, clipboard tucked under one arm. "God just did," Amara murmured. Dante leaned against the seat, breathing shallow. "That woman just bought us 5 more minutes, he said weakly. Amara's chest ached. "Then we use them." The bus rattled toward Ojuelegba, Lagos lights stretching like molten gold ahead. But Dante's color was fading fast. The scarf around his shoulder had darkened again. His head lolled against the window. Amara touched his forehead. "You're burning up," she whispered. He managed a faint smile. "It's the welcome heat of your country." "Don't joke," she said sharply. "You'll pass out before we get there." He looked at her, eyes half-lidded. "If I do, leave me. They won't stop hunting until I'm dead." "I won't leave you," she said, voice firm, surprising even herself. "Not after all this." A silence followed, soft but heavy. The city roared around them, honking cars, street vendors shouting prices, music bleeding from bars. But inside the Danfo, it felt like they were caught in a smaller, fragile world of their own. At the next stop, Amara nudged the driver. "We get down here." He frowned. "No refund." "I don't need one." She helped Dante off the seat. Kemi jumped down too, offering her arm. The night air hit them, warm, noisy, alive. They were at the edge of Ojuelegba underpass, where hawkers called and generators hummed. Dante stumbled, caught himself on a pillar. "Where now?" Amara scanned the street. She spotted a flickering sign that read Starlight Guest Lodge, rooms available. The place looked cheap and tired, but it had walls and doors. "There," she said. They half-carried Dante across the road. The receptionist barely looked up when Amara asked for a room, his attention fixed on a blaring TV showing a Nollywood rerun. 5,000 naira cash, he said. Amara handed over a crumpled wad from her pocket, praying it would be enough. He slid a key toward her and went back to his show. Inside the small room the air was thick and damp. A single bulb flickered overhead. Dante collapsed on the bed with a groan. Kemi fetched a basin of water and tore pieces of cloth for cleaning. Amara pressed the cool rag against Dante's forehead. "You have to rest," she whispered. He turned his head toward her. "Rest isn't safe. Not for me." "For now it has to be," she said firmly. His eyes found hers again. "Why are you doing this?" She hesitated. The answer wasn't clear even to her. Maybe because she'd seen too many people walk past suffering like it was background noise. Maybe because she knew what it meant to be powerless and alone. Or maybe because there was something in Dante's voice, a truth, buried but still human, that made her believe he deserved a second chance. Finally, she said quietly, "Because someone should." For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, horns blared and laughter drifted in from the street. Life went on uncaring. Then Dante's phone buzzed. It had been silent for hours. He fumbled it from his pocket. The screen glowed with a message. "Unknown number, we know where you are. Family never hides from family." He stared at it, then deleted the message. "They found us, didn't they?" Amara asked softly. He nodded once. They always do. Kemi's voice trembled. What will happen now? Before Dante could answer, a knock echoed through the thin door, soft, polite, deadly. All three froze. The knock came again, followed by a smooth voice Amara recognized instantly. Gold girl, Jide said from the other side, his tone calm and cold. You always had a kind heart. Open this door and maybe your mother lives to see morning. Amara's blood turned to ice. She stood rooted, her breath ragged. Dante reached for her hand. Listen to me, he whispered. If they get me, your family dies. If I go, your family still dies. There's only one way to break this. What way? She whispered. He looked at her with tired, steady eyes. You'll have to trust me and run again. But not away. The door handle began to turn. Dante's voice dropped to a command. When I say now, you grab Kemi and the bag under the bed. There's a gun inside. Don't hesitate. Amara's pulse roared in her ears. The door creaked open. Jide stepped in, gun glinting under the weak light, his smile too easy for a man bringing death. Dante whispered, now. Amara ducked, grabbed the bag and rolled. Kemi screamed. The gunshot cracked through the room like thunder, then silence. When the ringing in Amara's ears faded, she looked up. Dante was standing, somehow still alive, holding Jide's wrist twisted backward. The gun clattered to the floor. End of the road, brother, Dante said, breathless but cold. Jide smirked through the pain. You really think you can stop the family? Dante's reply was quiet, almost sad. I'm not trying to stop them. I'm trying to end them. And then another sound broke through the air, a phone on loudspeaker somewhere behind Jide's jacket, and a voice older, deeper, colder than the night itself. Son, the voice said. Bring her to me. Amara froze. The voice wasn't Jide's nor Dante's. It was Dante's father, Dante Cole. The line clicked. And from the street below came the unmistakable hum of engines, many engines, approaching fast. Engines growled outside like beasts circling prey. The cheap window panes rattled. Headlights flashed through the thin curtains, slicing the dim room into stripes of white and shadow. Dante staggered toward the door, grabbed Jide's collar and slammed him against the wall. How many? He demanded. Jide grinned through the pain, blood seeping from his nose. Enough to bury the both of you. Kemi backed into a corner, trembling. Auntie Amara, she whispered, we can't stay here. Amara's eyes darted between the door and Dante. He's right, she said. They'll burn this place down if they have to. Jide's laugh was low and cruel. You think you can run forever, gold girl? You think the Coles don't own every road in this city? Dante hit him once, hard, fast, clean. Jide crumpled to the floor, out cold. We'll need his car, Dante said, already limping toward the back window. Amara followed his gaze. Beyond the narrow alley, a row of black SUVs idled by the roadside, Cole family convoy. Men in suits were spreading out, checking every doorway. Too many, she said. Dante shook his head. Not if we move now. He climbed onto the small table under the window, pried the latch open with his good hand and pushed the frame wide. The night air slapped their faces, humid, heavy, reeking of petrol. Go, he said. Amara helped Kemi through first. The girl dropped to the alley below, landing on her knees but silent. Amara followed, then turned back for Dante. He hesitated, one hand gripping the sill, eyes scanning the room once more. What? She whispered. My father's listening, he said quietly. That call, it wasn't just audio. They're tracking me through the phone Jide carried. He reached into Jide's jacket and found a small black device flashing a red light. Without a word, Dante crushed it under his boot. That's one less eye, he said, then climbed out the window. They landed in the alley and ran. The sound of shouts erupted behind them. Footsteps. A door burst open upstairs. There behind the lodge, someone yelled. Amara grabbed Dante's arm, helping him keep pace. His shoulder bled through the bandage again, but he pushed forward. Ahead, the alley split. Left led toward the main road, bright and crowded. Right sank into darkness toward the old railway line. Left or right? She gasped. Dante's eyes flicked once toward the headlights in the distance. Right. Crowds mean cameras. Cameras mean my father's eyes. They turned into the dark. The ground grew uneven, scattered with broken glass and trash. The noise of pursuit faded slightly, confusion behind them as men fanned out in the wrong direction. At last, they reached the rusted skeleton of an abandoned warehouse near the tracks. Dante stopped, breathing hard. We'll hide here for an hour. Let the first wave pass. Inside, the air was stale with dust and old oil. Pigeons fluttered near the ceiling. Amara eased Dante onto a stack of wooden crates. Kemi sat nearby, her small hands shaking as she clutched the bag. Amara tore a strip from her sleeve and dabbed at Dante's wound. "You need real help," she said. "A hospital." Dante laughed softly. "Hospitals take names. Names open doors, and bullets come through those doors." She glared at him. "Then what's the plan? You can't keep running and bleeding." He looked at her, calm, steady, too calm for a man hunted. "I wasn't running before tonight. I was hiding in plain sight. My father taught me how to disappear even in daylight. Now I'm teaching him the same lesson." Amara frowned. "You mean, you planned this?" "Not this exactly," he admitted. "But I knew saying no to him would start a war. I just didn't expect to find my ally on a train." His eyes softened. "Or that she'd be a girl from a pepper stall." Her heart stumbled at that, but she masked it with irritation. "You talk too much for someone half dead." He smiled faintly. "Talking keeps me from dying." Kemi looked between them. "What do we do now?" Before Amara could answer, Dante's phone buzzed again. He stared at it, same number as before. He hesitated, then hit speaker. Obina Cole's voice filled the silence, deep and smooth like cold water. "My son," he said. "You've caused enough noise tonight." Dante's jaw clenched. "Noise was the only way to make you hear me. You think this is rebellion?" Obina's tone hardened. "You're a child playing with fire. The Empire doesn't bend for blood. It only replaces it." Amara shivered. There was no emotion in that voice, just power stripped of mercy. "You killed my mother to prove that once," Dante said quietly. Amara froze. Kemi gasped. Obina's pause was deliberate, chilling. "Your mother was weak," he said at last. "She wanted to heal what should have been ruled. You're the same. But you could still come home, son. Bring me the girl. And this." Amara's pulse hammered. "The girl?" she whispered. "Yes," Obina continued, voice cutting through the speaker like glass. "The one who made my son forget who he is. I've seen her face now. She's brave. But bravery without power is suicide. Bring her, Dante. Or I'll send men to finish what the train started." The line went dead. The silence that followed felt heavier than any noise. Amara stepped back, heart pounding. He wants me?" Dante didn't look up. "He wants control. And right now, you're the only thing I've chosen for myself." Kemi's small voice trembled. "They'll find us again, won't they?" "Yes," Dante said simply. "But we'll be gone before they do." He stood, wincing, and reached into the bag. He pulled out a folded map, creased, stained, marked with circles and red ink. "There's a port in Apapa where my father hides his shipments. Inside those crates are not just weapons or money, they're names. People he's bought, people he owns. If I can expose that, he falls." Amara blinked. "You're talking about taking down the most powerful man in Nigeria." "I'm talking about ending a disease," Dante said. "But I can't do it alone." Amara stared at him. Everything in her life had been simple until that train. Pepper stall, home, church, the laughter of her mother at sunset. Now she was running through a city she barely understood, with men who killed for less chasing her, and a wounded heir to a criminal empire asking for her trust. Yet, deep inside she knew she couldn't turn away. Finally she nodded. "Then we end it together." Dante's eyes softened. "You're braver than anyone I've met." "Don't mistake fear for bravery," she said. "I'm terrified." He smiled faintly. "Good. That means you're alive." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the distant hum of the city. Then Kemi, trying to lighten the air, whispered, "When this is over, can we still eat suya?" Amara let out a shaky laugh. "If we live, I'll buy you a whole tray." Dante chuckled, then grimaced as pain cut through him. "You two talk like you're not already legends." But his humor faded as a faint red light swept across the warehouse wall. Slow, scanning, deliberate. "Drone," Dante said sharply. "They've got heat sensors." Amara grabbed Kemi's hand. "Where do we go?" "Into the canal tunnels," Dante replied, grabbing the map. "They run under this side of the city. It's the only way to reach the port unseen." They sprinted toward the rear door as the hum of engines grew louder outside. By the time the Cole men broke into the warehouse, the place was empty, only a flickering bulb swinging above a broken phone, still replaying Obina Cole's last words in an endless, mocking loop. "Bring me the girl. Bring her home." Tell me what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next intense chapter of this African folktale thriller. The tunnel entrance yawned before them, a dark slit beneath a cracked concrete bridge, half hidden by weeds and the rusted frame of an old car. Water trickled faintly inside, carrying the faint smell of oil and rot. Amara hesitated at the edge, her chest heaving from the run. "You're sure this leads to the port?" Dante nodded, leaning heavily on the wall. "My father used these routes years ago before he could buy police silence. It's how the first shipments came in unseen." Kemi peeked into the darkness. "It looks like ghosts live here," she whispered. "They do," Dante said. "Ghosts of the people this city forgets." Amara helped him duck inside. The passage was narrow and damp, the walls slick with moss. Their footsteps echoed softly, blending with the slow drip of unseen water. She turned on her phone's flashlight, its small beams slicing through the murk. They moved deeper. Every sound was amplified: the scrape of Dante's shoes, Kemi's breathing, the steady hiss of distant drains. The deeper they went, the cooler it became, and the louder the silence pressed in. Amara's mind replayed Obina Cole's voice, the way he'd said, "Bring me the girl." She touched her chest, feeling the pounding there. "Why me, Dante?" she asked finally. "Why does he want me?" Dante walked slowly beside her, his silhouette wavering in the dim light. "Because I didn't let you die," he said. "And that makes you leverage." To him, kindness is weakness. Anyone who shows it must be punished. Amara swallowed hard. "Then your father's not just powerful. He's evil." Dante's jaw flexed. "Evil wears a suit and speaks softly. He'll smile at you while cutting your throat." They turned a corner. The tunnel widened into a large chamber where broken pipes hung from the ceiling. Faint moonlight seeped through cracks above, glinting off shallow water. On one wall, faded graffiti read, "We see you." Kemi shivered. "Who wrote that?" Dante scanned the words, his expression unreadable. "The city," he murmured. "It watches everything." Suddenly, a sharp metallic clang echoed behind them. Amara froze. What was that? Dante raised a hand for silence. They listened. Another clang, closer this time. Boots splashing. "They've found us," Dante said under his breath. Amara grabbed Kemi's hand, pulling her behind an overturned drum. Dante crouched beside them, his face pale but focused. He pulled a small pistol from his jacket. Sleek, black, foreign. "Where did you get that?" Amara whispered. "From Jide," Dante said grimly. "He won't need it anymore." Two flashlights cut through the tunnel's mouth, bobbing closer. Voices followed, calm, clipped English accents mixed with local ones. "They're ahead." The tracker pinged here. Amara's pulse thundered. Kemi trembled beside her. Dante leaned close, whispering, "When I say run, you don't look back. Stay low and head for the next junction. You'll see a rusted ladder. It leads to the surface. Wait for me there." Amara shook her head fiercely. "No. I'm not leaving you." He met her gaze, eyes fierce and sad. "If I fall, it means he wins. You're my proof he hasn't yet." Before she could answer, gunfire erupted. Short, controlled bursts that echoed like thunder in the concrete hall. Sparks danced as bullets hit the metal drums. Kemi screamed, covering her ears. Dante fired back once, twice. One of the flashlights went dark. A cry followed. The other beam jerked wildly before retreating deeper into the tunnel. "Run!" Dante shouted. Amara pulled Kemi and bolted through the next archway, splashing through knee-high water. Behind them, more shots cracked. She looked back just long enough to see Dante stagger but keep moving, reloading with one good hand. They reached the rusted ladder, a thin iron spine climbing toward a faint circle of light. Amara boosted Kemi up first. The girl scrambled, hands slipping but determined. "Go," Amara urged. Kemi reached the top and pushed at the cover until it gave way with a groan. Cool night air poured in. She climbed out and turned back, reaching for Amara. But a hand clamped around Amara's ankle, jerking her down. She screamed, twisting. A man's face loomed from the shadows, shaved head, scar across his cheek, water dripping from his chin. "She's here," he roared. Amara kicked hard, connecting with his jaw. He grunted but didn't let go. Then a gunshot cracked, echoing like thunder in the confined space. The man's grip loosened. He fell backward into the water. Dante limped into view, gun smoking. "Move!" Amara scrambled up the ladder, heart in her throat. She grabbed Kemi's hand and hauled herself onto the surface. They were in a deserted dockyard, the air thick with salt and diesel. Stacks of shipping containers loomed around them like silent giants. Dante pulled himself out next, gasping. His hoodie was soaked, his bandage nearly black. He wiped his face, scanning the yard. "We're close," he said. "Apapa's main port is 3 blocks east." Amara looked at the endless rows of containers. "How do we find anything in this maze?" He pointed to a section marked C. Industries, his father's company. Those. The black ones with the gold stripe. That's where he hides everything. Kemi frowned. And what are we looking for? Evidence, Dante said. Shipping logs, bank records, proof of the empire. Once we have that, we can destroy it. Amara nodded slowly. Then let's finish this. They crept between the containers, every step echoing in the hollow space. The night was too quiet, too still. Somewhere in the distance, a foghorn moaned. They reached one of the black containers. Dante motioned for them to stay back as he picked the lock with a small metal tool. The latch clicked open. He swung the doors wide and froze. Inside, under the harsh glow of a single overhead bulb, stood Jide. Alive. Bruised but smiling, gun in hand. Took you long enough, he said. Father said you'd come here. Dante's face hardened. You sold your soul, Jide? Jide chuckled. I didn't sell it. I invested it. You always wanted to destroy him, Dante. But the truth is, you are him. Look at you. Bleeding, desperate, dangerous. You belong to this. He raised the gun, leveling it at Amara. And you, village girl, should have stayed where you came from. Amara's heart hammered. Kemi whimpered behind her. Jide's finger tightened on the trigger. And a sudden blinding light flooded the dockyard. Dozens of armed men surrounded the area. But they weren't Cole's men. Their jackets bore the crest of the EFCC and the Interpol insignia beneath. A commanding voice shouted, "Drop your weapons. You're surrounded." Jide spun, cursing. Dante's eyes widened. How? Amara stared at her phone in shock. It was still recording, the red light blinking. She hadn't realized she'd pressed live while in the tunnel. Thousands of people were watching, commenting, sharing. The Cole Empire was no longer hidden. Jide turned back, his face twisting. You ruined everything, he roared. He aimed at Amara. But Dante moved first. The gunshot echoed across the dockyard. When the smoke cleared, Jide lay on the ground, clutching his chest. His eyes, once sharp and cold, stared blankly at the night sky. Dante dropped his gun and sank to his knees, breathing hard. Amara rushed to him, catching his shoulders. You're bleeding again, she cried. He smiled faintly, looking at her face. Then maybe it's over. But before she could speak, a familiar voice rolled through the night, amplified through a loudspeaker from the far end of the docks. Commanding. Unmistakable. Dante, Obina Cole said, his tone calm and almost amused. My son. You've made your choice. Now watch the cost. Floodlights ignited along the shore, revealing a convoy of Cole's men, and at the center, bound and terrified, was Amara's mother. Amara's scream cut through the air like glass. Dante's face turned to stone. The war had only just begun. The night cracked open with Amara's scream. It tore through the humid air and echoed against the metal walls of the shipping containers. Her knees nearly buckled as she saw her mother, hands bound, a bruise across her temple, guarded by men in suits and tactical vests. Dante froze beside her. The floodlights painted his face in harsh white, turning his gray eyes to steel. Around them EFCC agents shouted orders, guns raised toward the incoming convoy. But the Cole men didn't flinch. They stood like an army used to killing for a living. Obina Cole's voice boomed from a loudspeaker mounted atop a black SUV. Son, he said, his tone smooth as oil, step away from the girl. Bring yourself in and I let her mother live. You know me, I don't bluff. Amara's breath came in shallow gasps. Dante, don't listen to him, she pleaded. He's lying. He'll kill her anyway. Obina chuckled faintly. Girl, you've never met a man who keeps his word, have you? Dante's fists clenched. You've never kept yours, he shouted back. You swore no blood would spill after Mom, after Jasmine. You broke that. Jasmine was a weakness, Obina's voice thundered. Just like you're becoming. You carry my name, my blood, my empire, and yet you defy me for a girl who sells pepper? The insult struck deep, but Dante didn't flinch. The girl who saved my life, he said. Something you never valued. For a moment, silence hung heavy between father and son. Then Obina's voice hardened. Last chance. Surrender and walk away alive. EFCC officers shifted nervously. Their leader, a tall man in a Navy tactical vest, stepped forward. Mr. Cole, you're surrounded. Put down your weapons. You're under arrest for trafficking and organized crime. Obina's reply was a quiet laugh that somehow sounded louder than the engines. Do you know who I am, officer? Lagos bends to my name. Arrest me and the city burns by morning. He waved a hand. His men cocked their rifles in unison. The EFCC chief tensed, eyes darting toward his team. "Hold your fire," he barked. But it was too late. Gunfire erupted, cutting through the night like thunder ripping the sky. Bullets pinged off containers, sparks flying. Officers ducked behind vehicles. Amara dropped flat on the ground, dragging Kemi under a metal crate. Dante dove beside them, shielding their bodies as shells rained down. Screams echoed. A nearby SUV exploded, flames licking the air. "Move!" Dante shouted, grabbing Amara's wrist. They scrambled between the containers, smoke thick in their throats. The gunfight raged behind them, chaos and shouting and the endless staccato of automatic fire. Amara's mind spun. Her mother's face flashed in her head, the bruise, the fear. "We can't leave her," she cried over the noise. Dante turned, his eyes fierce. "You think I will?" They slid behind another stack of containers, crouching low. The ground trembled as another explosion shook the dockyard. Dante peered around the corner. "The EFCC can't hold them," he said grimly. "My father has mercenaries, real soldiers." He pointed to a metal tower overlooking the port. "That's where he'll be. He always likes to watch." Amara followed his gaze. At the top of the tower stood a figure, tall, commanding, backlit by floodlights. Even from this distance, Dante Cole radiated power. A king surveying his battlefield. And below him, Amara's mother on her knees, surrounded by guards. Amara's pulse pounded in her ears. "Then that's where we're going." Kemi tugged her arm. "Auntie, it's too dangerous." Amara turned to the girl, her voice trembling but resolute. "If that were your mother, would you stay here?" Kemi's lip quivered. She shook her head. Dante looked between them, then exhaled. "All right. But we do it my way." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small flash drive wrapped in black tape. "This is what he's afraid of," he said. "The evidence, names, accounts, everything. I kept a copy. If I upload this, his entire empire burns." Amara blinked. "Where can we send it?" "There's a satellite uplink inside the control tower," Dante said. "If we reach it, we can send everything to Interpol." "Then we go through him," Amara said, jaw set. They began to move again, weaving through the maze of containers as gunfire crackled in the distance. The closer they got to the tower, the more bodies they passed, both EFCC agents and Cole men. The air smelled of gunpowder and salt. Halfway there, Dante stumbled, catching himself against a crate. Blood dripped from his shoulder again. Amara caught him. "You can't keep going like this." He managed a weak smile. "I told you, I don't stop till it's over." Suddenly, a shadow stepped into their path, a young man in tactical black, gun raised. "Hands up," he shouted. "Don't move." Amara froze. The man's vest bore no insignia. Not EFCC. Not Interpol. "Cole Security," Dante muttered. The guard's eyes flicked over Amara, then to Dante. "You," he said, realization dawning. "You're the boss's son." Dante raised his hands slowly. "You don't have to die for him," he said. "Walk away." The guard hesitated. Sweat rolled down his temple. "You don't understand," he said. "We already did. Once you're in this family, you don't get out." Before he could pull the trigger, a loud clang rang out. The guard's eyes widened and he collapsed. Behind him stood Kemi, clutching a rusty metal pipe with both hands, her chest heaving. Amara blinked. "Kemi?" The girl dropped the pipe, shaking. "He was going to shoot you," she whispered. Dante stared at her, then nodded. "Good timing, soldier." They pressed on. The tower loomed larger now, its stairwell winding upward in shadow. At the base, two guards stood watch. Dante motioned for Amara and Kemi to stay back, then crept forward. He moved like a man who'd grown up learning to fight in silence. A flash, a twist, two muffled blows, and the guards were down. They climbed. Each step groaned beneath their feet. From above, they could hear Obina's voice again, calm amid chaos. "Bring me my son alive," he commanded someone unseen. "The girl, use her to teach him obedience." Amara clenched her fists. "I'll never be anyone's lesson." When they reached the top, they found him. Dante Cole stood at the edge of the platform, his suit immaculate despite the battle below. His eyes were dark, cold, ancient with arrogance. Beside him knelt Amara's mother, rope cutting into her wrists. Obina turned as if sensing them. "Ah," he said smoothly. "The prodigal son and his savior." Dante leveled the pistol. "Let her go." Obina smiled faintly. "I told you once, Dante, you can't save people. You can only own them." "Then maybe it's time someone owned you," Dante said. Obina chuckled. "You sound like me." He snapped his fingers. 2 more guards stepped from the shadows, rifles raised. Amara darted forward, grabbing a metal rod from the floor. "You'll have to shoot me first," she shouted. "Gladly," one guard sneered, aiming. But before he could fire, a sharp whistle cut through the chaos. A spotlight hit the tower from below. EFCC reinforcements swarmed the base, shouting, "Drop your weapons." The distraction was enough. Dante fired once, clean, perfect. The bullet hit Obina's gun, sending it spinning across the floor. Amara lunged toward her mother, cutting the ropes with the sharp edge of the rod. "Mama," she cried, tears breaking free. Her mother sobbed, clutching her tight. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. Dante advanced on his father, gun trembling in his hand. "It's over," he said. Obina looked at him with the calm of a man who never believed he could lose. "You think justice will cage me?" he said softly. "I built the cages." Dante hesitated. His hand shook. For a moment, Amara saw not a son or a villain, but a man torn between blood and truth. "Do it," Obina whispered. "Prove you're not weak like her." "Like Mom?" Dante said through his teeth. "She had more strength in her silence than you have in your empire." He pulled the trigger. The shot echoed like judgment. Obina Cole fell backward, blood blooming across his chest. His body hit the steel railing and disappeared into the firelit chaos below. Amara gasped. Dante stood still, the gun slipping from his hand. "It's done," he whispered. "It's finally done." Below, the Cole men scattered as EFCC officers took control of the dock. Sirens wailed. The city seemed to exhale. Amara turned to him. "We have to send the evidence," she said urgently, "before they erase it." Dante nodded weakly. He handed her the flash drive. "Go," he said. "The terminal's inside that cabin." She sprinted across the platform, plugging it into the console. The upload bar appeared, slow, crawling, unstoppable. 83%, 91%, 100%. A green light flashed, transfer complete. Outside, the gunfire faded. The empire of Cole had fallen. Dante looked at the horizon where the first hint of dawn touched the sea. "Guess I'm free now," he murmured. Amara walked back to him, her eyes soft. "No," she said gently. "Now you start over." He smiled faintly, but his legs gave way. She caught him as he collapsed, his head resting against her shoulder. "Stay with me," she begged. "We made it." His lips curved in a tired smile. "You saved me twice." His eyes fluttered shut. "Dante," she screamed. "No." Sirens wailed closer, lights flashing across their faces. EFCC medics rushed in, shouting orders. Amara clutched him tighter, tears streaming down her face. Her mother held her from behind, whispering, "He'll be fine, my daughter. You'll see. The gods don't take heroes halfway." Amara looked down at him, her heart breaking and healing at once. And somewhere far below, the sun rose over the water, painting the city gold, washing the blood and smoke away, carrying whispers of a new beginning. "Be safe here. Lagos remembers its heroes." As they walked away, Amara's mother joined her, eyes bright with pride. "You hear that? The gods are watching over you." Amara smiled faintly. "Maybe. But I still need one man to wake up." 2 days later. The sound came softly at first, a hoarse whisper. "Amara." She jerked awake, heart hammering. Dante's eyes were open. He looked tired, weak but alive. "Dante," she gasped, rushing to his side. She grabbed his hand, tears spilling freely. "You scared me." He smiled faintly. "You don't scare easy." She laughed through tears. "You don't know how close I came to losing my mind." He squeezed her hand. "Then I guess we both lived for a reason." Her mother stepped in quietly, smiling. "Welcome back, son." He blinked. "Son." "She means it," Amara said softly. "You saved both of us." Dante looked away, his expression darkening. "I don't know if I saved anyone. My father's gone, but his roots run deep. Men like him plant seeds everywhere. Then we'll pull them out together," Amara said. "One by one." He studied her face, the fierce determination there. "You're not afraid?" She shook her head. "I learned fear doesn't save you. It only keeps you small." For the first time in days, Dante laughed, a quiet, real laugh. "Then maybe I found the bravest person in Nigeria," he said. "No," she corrected, smiling. "You found the right one." Weeks passed. Lagos had moved on to new headlines, but whispers about the Mafia Heir who chose justice lingered. The Cole estate was seized, Obina's businesses dismantled. Many of his loyal men fled the country. Dante was placed under protective custody for his testimony. But he refused to leave the country until Amara's family was safe. One evening, as the sun bled orange over the lagoon, they walked together along the hospital garden path. Dante wore a sling. Amara carried 2 bags of roasted corn from a roadside vendor. "I still can't believe you eat this every day," he teased. "Don't pretend you don't like it," she shot back. "You even fought a seagull for one last week." He chuckled. "Fair. Lagos birds are gangsters." They sat on a bench overlooking the water. Silence settled between them, not awkward but warm. "You know," Dante said after a moment, "when I was a boy, my father told me I'd inherit everything he built. Ships, money, respect. But the day you stitched my shoulder, I realized something." "What?" "That I'd rather inherit peace than power." Amara looked at him, her heart tightening. "And do you think you've found it?" He turned to her, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Not yet. But I think I'm looking at it." Their eyes met, the air between them heavy with something new, fragile, and undeniable. Before either could speak, Kemi appeared, carrying a newspaper. "Auntie Amara. Uncle Dante. Look." She waved the headline at them. "The Pepper Seller and the Mafia Heir. True Heroes of Lagos." Amara blushed. "Oh no. They're making stories out of us now." Kemi grinned. "Everyone in school says you're famous." Dante laughed softly. "Guess that makes us legends." But Amara's smile faded a little as she looked out at the water. "Dante," she said quietly, "when all this ends, what will you do?" He hesitated. "Maybe I'll build something honest this time. A shipping company that trades food, medicine, not weapons. And maybe," he glanced at her, "I'll need a partner." Amara raised an eyebrow. "Business partner?" He smirked. "Maybe both kinds." Her cheeks warmed. "We'll see if you can handle Pepper Market heat first." They both laughed, their voices blending with the sounds of the city, the horns, the chatter, the heartbeat of a place too alive to ever stay silent. As the sun dipped low, Amara leaned her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in months, the world felt still. Neither of them noticed the black sedan parked far across the road. Inside, a man in dark glasses watched through binoculars, speaking quietly into a phone. "Yes," he said. "The son lives. Orders." The voice on the other end was cold, accented. "Watch him. And when the time is right, remind him that empires don't die. They wait." The man ended the call and started the engine. The sedan melted into traffic, leaving only dust and the sound of the sea. Amara and Dante sat together, unaware that another storm was already gathering on the horizon. Morning broke over Lagos with a deceptive calm. The streets buzzed with life again, hawkers shouting prices, buses groaning through traffic, radios blaring high-life music. To most, the Cole Empire was gone, swallowed by justice. But in the corners where the city's light never reached, shadows whispered otherwise. Dante woke early, a habit from years of discipline. He stood by the hospital window, his shoulders still stiff beneath the sling, watching the city stretch awake. Down below, Amara and her mother were selling fresh pepper near the gate, laughter spilling from their stall. For the first time in years he felt something close to peace. But peace he knew was never free. A knock came at the door. He turned. 2 men in suits stood there, one local EFCC officer he recognized and another unfamiliar face, a clean-shaven man with sharp eyes and a foreign accent. "Mr. Cole," the foreigner said, flashing an Interpol badge. "Special Agent Wilder. We need to talk." Dante gestured for them to come in. "If this is about the trial, I've already given my statement." "It's not about that," Wilder said, stepping closer. "It's about what's next." Dante frowned. "What do you mean?" Wilder opened a folder and laid several photographs on the bed. They were surveillance images, grainy but clear enough to chill the blood. One showed a man in dark glasses standing across from the hospital. Another, a convoy of vehicles marked with the crest of a rival syndicate. "They're not gone, are they?" Dante murmured. "No," Wilder said. "Your father had allies, European investors, South American distributors. With Obina dead, they're scrambling for control. And many of them believe you'll take his place." Dante's hands tightened. "They're wrong." The EFCC officer nodded grimly. "We know that. But they don't. Which means you're a target." Dante looked out the window again, at Amara's bright headscarf, the sunlight glinting off her laughter. "What about her?" he asked. "And her mother?" Wilder hesitated. "If they stay near you, they're in danger. We can move them into witness protection." "No," Dante said sharply. "She's already lost her home once." I won't let her live hiding from ghosts. The officer sighed. Then you'd better keep her close. Because if they can't find you, they'll find her. The words hung heavy in the air. That afternoon, Dante walked down to the market. The smell of grilled fish and pepper soup filled the air. Amara spotted him instantly and waved, her smile bright as sunlight. Look who's walking again, she teased. He grinned faintly. You make it sound like I rose from the dead. Her mother laughed. You almost did. Dante helped them pack up the last of their sales for the day. The three of them sat under a mango tree at the corner, sharing roasted plantains and cold sachet water. For a while, it was easy to pretend life had returned to normal. Then Dante spotted it, an unfamiliar black sedan parked too long across the road. The driver wasn't buying or selling. He was watching. Amara, Dante said quietly. Stay calm. Don't turn around. Her laughter died. What is it? Trouble. Her mother's hands froze mid-motion. Again? Dante nodded slowly. They're watching us. A motorcycle sped past, breaking the tension for a heartbeat. When Amara dared to glance back, the car was gone. Maybe it's nothing, she said. But Dante's gut told him otherwise. He knew how the world of power worked. The moment one empire fell, another rose to claim its ashes. That night, Dante couldn't sleep. He sat outside their small apartment, the humid air thick with silence. Amara joined him, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. You're quiet, she said softly. He exhaled. Because quiet is when I hear the noise the loudest. What noise? The one my father left behind. Every decision I make, I hear his voice in it, telling me how to win, how to control. I'm scared that part of him is still in me. Amara reached for his hand. You're not him, Dante. You made a choice he never would have. You gave up power for people. He looked at her, his expression raw. What if I can't protect you? She smiled faintly. You don't have to protect me. You just have to stand beside me. He opened his mouth to reply, but a sound interrupted them, the faint click of metal. Dante froze. He knew that sound too well. A safety being released. Get down, he shouted, pulling Amara to the ground. A silenced gunshot cracked through the night. The wall behind them spat dust and brick. Another shot followed, closer. Amara's mother screamed inside the house. Kemi, who had been staying with them for safety, ran out crying. Dante rolled to his feet, pulling a small pistol from under the bench. Inside. Now. The women scrambled in. Dante crouched by the doorway, scanning the shadows. He saw movement near the fence, a figure in black, retreating fast. He fired once. The figure ducked, then vanished into the alley. Stay down, he shouted, rushing back inside. Amara clutched her mother, trembling. Who was that? Not random, Dante said grimly. They're testing me. Seeing if I'll fight back. Then we can't stay here, her mother said. They'll come again. Dante nodded. You're right. We leave tonight. Go where? Amara asked. He looked toward the window where the sea glimmered faintly in the distance. To the only place my father taught me to fear, his birthplace. She frowned. His village? Yes, Dante said. In Enugu. That's where the last key to his empire is hidden, the ledger he kept before he went digital. If I find it, I can end this for good. Amara shook her head. You're barely healed. He smiled weakly. You think scars stop a Cole? Her mother rose slowly, her voice trembling. Then go. But promise me you'll bring my daughter back. Dante met her gaze. With my life. They left Lagos before dawn. The highway stretched out in gray silence, the city shrinking in the rearview mirror. Amara sat in the passenger seat, watching the mist drift over the road. Kemi slept in the back seat, curled up under a blanket. After an hour of silence, Amara finally spoke. Do you think peace ever comes, Dante? He kept his eyes on the road. Only when the truth stops running. As they drove, the landscape changed. City lights giving way to open fields, palm trees bending in the wind and far-off hills bathed in gold. But peace was short-lived. When they reached a narrow stretch of forest road, Dante slowed the car. The air felt different, too still, too heavy. Something's wrong, he murmured. A split second later, tires exploded. The car swerved violently. Metal screamed as they spun into a ditch. Amara's world tilted. Glass shattered, screams blurred. When the dust settled, Dante dragged himself out of the wreck, blood trickling down his face. Amara, he shouted. She coughed, dazed but alive. Kemi? I'm here, the girl whimpered from the back. Then a slow
fell
clap
silent.
echoed through the trees.
Only the buzz of insects
from the shadows
and the faint
stepped a
hiss
tall
of the
man in a
smoking
gray
car
suit,
filled the night
his
air.
face half burned
Amara's
from an old
heartbeat
wound.
drummed so loud
His
she
eyes
thought the
were
whole
sharp
jungle
and
could
cold.
hear it.
"Hello,
Dante
Dante,"
stood in front
he
of
said,
her,
his
long
arms
time.
stretched out protectively,
Dante's blood
his
ran
chest
cold.
rising and falling
Malik,
with rage and pain.
Amara's stomach
Malik
dropped.
stepped closer,
Your
his
cousin.
polished shoes
Malik
crunching
smiled,
on gravel.
a twisted,
He looked
chilling
every
thing.
bit the arrow
You
Bina
took
had
my
wanted,
inheritance,
calm,
cousin.
elegant,
Now I'll
deadly.
take it back with
His
interest.
burned cheek caught
He
the light
nodded
of the
toward
fire,
his men emerging
twisting
from
his
the
smirk
trees,
into
rifles
something
raised.
monstrous.
You see,
"You were
you
always
killed the
weak,
king.
cousin, but every
Malik
kingdom
said,
needs a new
circling slowly.
ruler."
I
He
told
aimed his
Uncle
gun at
Abina he
Amara,
was wasting time
and every
trying to make
ruler
you his
needs a
successor.
lesson in loyalty.
You had too much of your
Dante
mother in
stepped
you,
in front of her.
heart, conscience,
"You'll have to go
mercy.
through me."
And look where that's
Malik's
gotten
smirk
you.
deepened.
Dante's
That's
fingers
the plan.
twitched near his gun.
The jungle filled
You
with the
killed him,
metallic click
he
of
said
rifles
quietly.
being loaded. Malik's
The
smile
war
didn't
Obina
fade.
started wasn't over.
He wanted to die
It had just
standing,
found its
not
new
kneeling.
air. I gave him that. I shot him clean. You should thank me. Amara's breath caught. You shot your own uncle? Malik turned his eyes on her, amused. You must be the village girl. The one who stitched him together. Pretty, for a peasant. I can see why he lost his mind over you. Dante's jaw tightened. You'll keep her name out of your mouth. Or what? Malik taunted. You'll shoot me? You won't. You had your chance with Uncle. You couldn't pull the trigger until he pushed you. You don't have it in you. Dante's gun came up slowly. Try me. Malik chuckled, motioning for his men to fan out. You're outnumbered, cousin. Drop it and I might let you die quick. Before Dante could respond, Kemi's voice trembled from behind the car wreck. Auntie Amara. Malik's gaze snapped toward her. His smile turned cold. Oh, you brought a child. Touch her, Amara said fiercely, and I'll bury you myself. Malik laughed. You hear that, Dante? The Pepper Girl's braver than you. He raised his gun, but the sound of a car engine interrupted him. Headlights flared at the bend in the road. Tires screeched. Two black jeeps burst through the dust and stopped abruptly. Men in EFCC tactical gear spilled out, weapons drawn. At their head was Inspector Graham from Interpol. Drop your weapons, he barked. Now. Malik's grin vanished. Ah, he murmured. So this was a trap. Dante smirked faintly. Not a trap. A signal. You think I didn't know you'd follow me? Malik's expression hardened. You always were your father's son. Then you should have remembered how he planned, Dante said. A gunfight erupted. Bullets ripped through the trees, sparking off the wrecked car. Amara ducked behind the hood, dragging Kemi with her. Leaves exploded into dust. Men screamed. Dante rolled for cover, firing twice. Malik's men fell, but more kept coming. The air stank of cordite and burning oil. Stay down. Dante shouted. Amara's hands trembled as she held Kemi close. We'll be okay, baby. Just breathe. Malik ducked behind a tree, reloading. You can't kill an idea, Dante, he shouted. The Coles are bigger than one name. Dante yelled back. Then I'll make sure yours ends here. He lunged from cover, shooting. Malik's gun barked back, the sound deafening. A bullet grazed Dante's arm, spinning him sideways. He fell, gritting his teeth against the pain. Malik stalked toward him, smirking. See? Weak. Amara saw it happen like slow motion. Malik raising his gun, Dante too dazed to lift his own. Without thinking, she ran forward, grabbing a piece of burning metal from the wreck and slamming it into Malik's wrist. He shouted, the gun clattering to the ground. Dante seized the moment, driving his shoulder into Malik's chest. The two men crashed into the mud, grappling. Amara scrambled to grab Kemi and pull her back. Gunfire still echoed, but she couldn't look away. Malik's fists rained down. You could have ruled beside me, he roared. We could have been gods. Dante shoved back, blood in his mouth, fury in his eyes. No. I'd rather die human. He rolled, reaching for the dropped gun. Malik lunged at the same time. The two men struggled for it, mud, blood, and rage mixing under the stormlight. The shot rang out. For a second no one moved. Then Malik froze, eyes wide. He looked down at the spreading red across his chest. Dante's trembling hand still held the gun. His expression was unreadable, pain, sorrow, and relief all tangled together. Malik staggered backward, choking on his own breath. You finally did it. I didn't want to, Dante said softly. But you gave me no choice. Malik smiled weakly, his arrogance fading into something almost human. Then maybe, you are the heir after all. He fell, the light in his eyes dimming. The jungle went still again. The gunfire faded. EFCC agents called out all clear. Smoke hung in the humid air like the ghost of a curse. Amara ran to Dante, her face pale. You're bleeding. He laughed weakly. We keep saying that. She threw her arms around him. Don't ever make me watch that again. He held her close, burying his face in her shoulder. It's over, he whispered. Finally over. But she pulled back, eyes narrowing. Is it? He frowned. She pointed past him. Malik's men, those who survived, were kneeling, hands on their heads. But among them was one man smiling faintly, whispering something under his breath. Amara strained to hear it. Obinna lives, the man said softly. You think you killed him? You buried a decoy. Dante froze. What did you say? The man met his eyes, grinning despite the blood on his teeth. The king doesn't die in public. Only pawns do. Inspector Graham walked up, frowning. What's going on? Dante's face went pale. We didn't end it. We just cut off one head. He turned to Amara, his voice trembling. If Obinna's alive, he's going underground. And he'll come for us. Amara's grip tightened on his arm. Then we'll be ready. He looked at her, tired, bruised but unbroken, and nodded. Together. They stood there, surrounded by smoke and the dead, while dawn crept through the trees. Somewhere far away in the depth of an undisclosed mansion overlooking the sea, an old man with calm eyes poured himself a glass of wine. On the table before him was a newspaper headline, Mafia Heir ends family empire. He smiled. Not yet, Obinna Cole murmured. Not yet. He raised the glass and drank to the empire that refused to die. The morning after the forest battle, Lagos woke to headlines that split the nation in half. Malik Cole killed in gunfight. Mafia dynasty finally ends. Hero heir Dante Cole and pepper seller Amara bring down crime empire. TV stations looped drone footage of burning jeeps and recovered weapons. But beneath the noise, in the corners where truth sleeps, darker whispers began again. Obinna Cole didn't die. He escaped. Dante saw those headlines from the backseat of an EFCC convoy as they drove him and Amara back into the city. His shoulder throbbed, his eyes ringed with exhaustion. He hadn't spoken for an hour. Amara watched him carefully. You've been quiet, she said softly. He didn't answer at first. Then, without looking at her, he murmured, if he's alive, he's planning something bigger. My father never left anything to chance. Amara's voice wavered. Maybe that man in the forest lied. Maybe it's over. Dante finally turned to her. You've seen what he can do, Amara? A man like that doesn't die without shaking the ground first. She wanted to argue, but deep down she knew he was right. When they arrived at the EFCC safe house in Ikoyi, the agents gave them adjoining rooms and told them to rest. But rest didn't come easily. Dante paced his small room, staring out at the lagoon. Inspector Graham knocked softly. You should eat something, he said, stepping inside. You're safe now, son. Dante gave a small, humorless laugh. I've never been safe a day in my life. Graham hesitated, then handed him a manila envelope. We found something in Malik's car. Thought you should see it. Inside were several documents, maps, coordinates, and a small photograph. The picture made Dante's blood run cold. It showed his father, alive. Sitting in a wheelchair, bandages around his chest, a faint smile on his face. Behind him stood a man in military fatigues, the Nigerian flag barely visible on the sleeve. Graham spoke carefully. We traced the location to somewhere near the Cameroon border. A private airfield. We believe your father staged his death and fled during the chaos. Dante stared at the photo, his jaw tightening. He's rebuilding. Graham nodded. And with Malik gone, he'll need a new heir. You. Dante's grip tightened around the photo until it crumpled. Then we finish this before he starts again. Graham sighed. Interpol is preparing an operation, but it'll take weeks. We can't just storm a foreign base. Then I'll go first, Dante said. Graham's eyes widened. Alone? That's suicide. Dante looked up, a faint smile touching his lips. Not alone. Amara was sitting on the balcony when he found her. The city glowed below, neon reflections rippling across the water. You heard, she said quietly. Yes. You're going after him, aren't you? He sat beside her. I have to. If he's alive, he'll never stop. He'll keep coming after anyone I care about. Her gaze softened. Including me. He nodded. Especially you. A long silence stretched between them. The night air hummed with the sound of distant music and life. Finally, Amara spoke, voice steady but trembling at the edges. Then I'm coming with you. He turned sharply. No. I won't put you through that again. You don't get to decide that, she said, her eyes fierce. I've bled with you. Run with you. I'm not watching from the sidelines while you walk into fire. He stared at her for a long moment, then sighed, a small smile tugging at his lips. You'd make a terrible soldier. She grinned faintly. Good. I'm not one. I'm worse, I'm stubborn. He laughed quietly. Then I guess I can't stop you. Never could, she said softly. 3 nights later, Nigeria-Cameroon border. The sky was thick with storm clouds. The air smelled of rain and jet fuel. Amara crouched beside Dante behind a line of rusted oil drums. Ahead, dim lights marked the edges of a private airstrip. A single cargo plane sat ready, engines idling. Men in black uniforms loaded crates under the watch of armed guards. Through binoculars, Dante spotted him, Dante Cole. The once invincible man now moved slower, older, confined to a wheelchair. Yet even from a distance he radiated command. He's alive, Amara whispered. Dante's voice was calm. Alive but not untouchable. They waited until the wind rose, drowning the sound of their steps. Then they moved, fast, low, silent. Every motion practiced, every breath measured. Dante reached the edge of a hangar and signaled for Amara to stay. But she shook her head and followed anyway. They slipped inside, hiding behind stacked crates. Dante spotted a control console and whispered, "If we cut the power, his plane won't lift." Amara nodded, scanning the room. There, breaker panel. She crept toward it. But before she could reach it, a voice stopped her cold. "Still following orders, my son?" The air froze. Dante turned. Obinna sat just beyond the crates, flanked by 2 guards. His voice was weaker than before but carried the same poison. "I knew you'd come," Obinna said, smiling faintly. "You can't kill blood. It calls you back." Dante stepped forward, gun steady. "You faked your death. Let your cousin die for you." "Malik was useful," Obinna said. "And disposable. He lacked vision. But you," he leaned forward slightly. "You could have been king. You still can. Join me, Dante. We can rebuild the world in our image." "I already rebuilt mine," Dante said. "And it doesn't include you." Obinna chuckled softly. "You think you're better than me because of a girl?" He nodded toward Amara, who stood frozen near the breaker panel. "Come, child. Look what he's become. You think he saved you? He's the same as me, he just kills slower." Amara's hands shook. "You're wrong. He's nothing like you." Obinna's smile faded. "Then you die with him." He raised a small pistol from his lap and fired. Dante dove forward. The bullet grazed his arm. He tackled his father's wheelchair, sending it crashing to the floor. The gun skittered away. Guards rushed in, but Amara slammed the breaker switch down. The hangar plunged into darkness. Shouts erupted. Sparks flew. In the confusion, Dante found the gun, pressed it to Obinna's chest. Rain hammered the tin roof. Obinna looked up at him, unblinking. "You can't kill me, son. If you do, you become me." Dante's hand shook. "Maybe that's what it takes to end you." "Then end me," Obinna whispered. "And take your throne." For a long, terrible moment, Dante hesitated. Lightning flashed through the windows, illuminating father and son. One broken, one bleeding, both chained by blood. Then, slowly, Dante lowered the gun. "No," he said softly. "You don't deserve a clean death." He turned and fired once, not at Obinna but at the crates behind him. Gasoline spilled and caught the sparks. Flames leapt instantly, devouring the hangar. Amara screamed, "Dante, go!" He grabbed her hand. Together they ran, the fire chasing them, heat licking at their backs. They burst through the hangar doors as the plane exploded behind them, the shockwave hurling them into the mud. When the smoke cleared, the airstrip was a burning ruin. Dante staggered up, coughing. "He's gone," he said. Amara looked at the inferno, her face streaked with ash and tears. "Then it's over." He nodded, pulling her close. "It's over." She leaned into him, whispering, "Let's go home." 6 months later, Lagos. The lagoon shimmered under the golden sun. Children played near the pier, vendors sold roasted corn and suya. Amara stood beside a small fishing boat, adjusting her mother's scarf around her neck. Dante joined her, wearing a simple white shirt and jeans, his scars fading. "So," she said, smiling, "you really opened that shipping company?" He nodded. "Cole Logistics. But this time it only carries hope and pepper from your stall." She laughed. "My father would have called that madness." "Then maybe madness runs in the family now," he said. They stood there, hand in hand, watching the boats move across the water. After a while, Amara asked softly, "Do you ever think of him?"
Dante nodded. Sometimes when I hear thunder. But it doesn't scare me anymore. She smiled. Good. A seagull cried overhead. The wind carried the scent of salt and rain. Dante looked at her. You changed my life, Amara. You taught me what my father never could. What's that? That power doesn't come from fear. It comes from love. She blushed, eyes glistening. Then I guess we both learned something. He leaned in, their foreheads touching, the city's heartbeat pulsing around them. And for the first time there were no sirens, no shouts, no ghosts, just peace. Sparkle's audience engagement prompt. If you were Amara, would you have trusted a man with such a dark past, or walked away after the truth came out? Comment your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this epic African folktale, like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another story that proves even the darkest hearts can find redemption.